Assalamu alaikum and welcome everyone. Today we're doing a deep dive into Surah Al-Balad, the 90th chapter of the Quran. This one, revealed in Mecca, it's a really powerful message for both believers and non-believers, really pushing us all towards a path of righteousness. And you know this surah, it's so beautifully written, so poetic and philosophical. We'll be diving deep into these ideas of struggle and the choices we make in life, the paths we take, and where they ultimately lead us.
Exactly, and assalamu alaikum, it's a privilege to explore this together.
This surah, it starts off with an oath, and it really grabs your attention right from the start.
It does. It sets a very specific scene geographically and then expands to this universal truth that everyone can connect to.
So tell me more about that opening.
Well, the first three verses say, I swear by this city, and you are a resident of this city, and by the Father and what he produced.
Okay, so we're talking about Mecca, the holiest city in Islam.
Exactly, and that's what makes this oath so powerful. Because it brings to mind the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and all the struggles he faced, spreading the message of Islam even in his own birthplace.
Wow, so even in a place so sacred, there was pushback and hardship.
Absolutely. But then the surah takes a turn. The very next verse, verse 4 says, Indeed, we've created humankind in constant struggle.
And that's where we see that universal truth. Everyone struggles.
Exactly. It doesn't matter your background, your beliefs, struggle is part of the human experience.
It's like a common thread woven through every life. So the surah starts by grounding us in this reality of struggle. Where does it go from there?
Well, then it shifts focus to those who deny Allah, specifically their arrogance.
Okay.
They're blinded by material wealth and can't see beyond it. You know, it's almost like the surah is throwing down a challenge.
What do you mean?
In verses 5 through 7, it says, Does he think of that no one has power over him? He boasts, I have wasted enormous wealth. Does he think that no one sees him?
Oh, wow.
These people, they think their wealth and status make them untouchable.
They don't recognize a power greater than themselves.
Right. But the surah is reminding us that everyone is accountable, regardless of their possessions.
So it's like a direct response to that kind of thinking, pushing back against that idea of being above accountability.
Exactly. And then, we move into these really beautiful verses.
Which ones?
Verses 8 through 10, they talk about the gifts that Allah has given to humanity.
Okay.
It says, Have we not given him 2 eyes, a tongue, and 2 lips, and shown him the 2 ways of right and wrong is?
So it's talking about our senses, our ability to communicate, to make choices.
Yes. We have the capacity to see, to speak, to distinguish between good and evil.
So it's saying we have this incredible power to choose our own path.
Exactly. And that comes with a responsibility to use those gifts wisely.
To not take them for granted.
Right. We're accountable for how we use these gifts. And then it brings up this concept of the challenging path.
The challenging path, that sounds, intriguing.
Yeah, it's so fascinating. And I love how it's presented.
How so?
Well, in verses 11 and 12, it says, If only he had attempted the challenging path. And what will make you realize what attempting the challenging path is?
It's almost like a riddle. It doesn't define it outright, but it hints at its importance.
Exactly. It makes you think, what is this path? What makes it so challenging?
And why is it worth taking?
Right. It really prompts you to reflect and look inward.
So how do we figure out what this challenging path actually is?
Well, the surah gives us clues. In verses 13 through 17, it says, It is to free a slave, or to feed on a day of hunger, an orphan who is a relative, or a needy person in distress. And above all, to be one of those who have faith and urge each other to perseverance and urge each other to compassion.
So it's about taking action, putting compassion into practice.
Yes, it's about going beyond yourself and extending a hand to those who are struggling.
Freeing someone from bondage, feeding the hungry, caring for the vulnerable.
And it emphasizes having faith and inspiring others to persevere and show compassion.
It's like a holistic path, both inward and outward, right?
Absolutely. It's about cultivating inner strength and righteousness while building a community of support and compassion.
That's so powerful. So we're seeing that this challenging path, it leads to goodness. But the surah doesn't shy away from showing us what happens when we choose a different path, the one that denies Allah's signs.
It doesn't. In verses 18 through 20, it lays out the consequences pretty starkly. It says, So these are the people of the right, and those who deny our signs, they are the people of the left. The fire will be sealed over them.
That imagery is so vivid.
It is.
It really highlights the gravity of our choices.
Right. This isn't some abstract concept.
Yeah.
This is about the real consequences, the contrasting fates, depending on the paths we choose.
Surah Al-Balad, it's a powerful reminder, isn't it?
Yeah.
It tells us that we have the capacity for both good and evil. But ultimately, it's a call to choose the path of righteousness.
It is. Despite the challenges, it's the most rewarding path.
It's about striving to be better versions of ourselves and building a more compassionate world.
Yeah.
What part of this surah, what resonated with you the most?
For me, it's this emphasis on the challenging path, the idea that true growth comes from confronting difficulty, from pushing ourselves to be better and do better for others.
I completely agree. It's a profound message that stays with you long after you finish reading. Surah Al-Balad leaves us with a lot to think about, a lot to reflect on. It encourages us to examine our own choices and the legacy we leave behind.
It does.
It's a call to action, to strive for a life aligned with Allah's guidance. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.